Okay.
just so that we can send this to Mary because she had an appointment.
Okay.
So we just took a big breath, Mary, if you're watching this, and let's talk about what has gone right. Like what is working, or what techniques are you using that you feel like are making a difference?
I don't know. I kind of threw everything out the window.
Yeah, sometimes it's survival, straight survival mode.
Yeah, I definitely was in just straight up survival. And I felt like, okay, each day it was kind of like, okay, now we're going to get back on track. And then just had to reverse and pivot and, left and right. So I did not handle things as well as I could have. And it was, I don't know, it was very stressful, very, very stressful. So my levels were probably off the charts, and I was at the point of just pulling hair, and yeah, like I'm gonna just freaking blow a gasket.
Yeah, 100%. I've been there many times. I still go there. Like
Yeah.
there's still a sense of, I mean, Sherry died, my mother-in-law, April 18th, and then Maya graduated 3 weeks later. So while it wasn't life and, well, I mean, it really was life and death, but while it wasn't just like, I don't know, there was still like this sense of like, I just need to float through these 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like this is just like a lot on our plate. There's a lot of moving parts and logistics, and we didn't even have like the big emotional swings, but it was still just a little chapter of I got to just float through each day.
Yeah. And that's what, every night it's like, okay, I'd lay down and I'd be like, okay, this day is over. Tomorrow will work. It will work. It'll be fine. And then someone come up and we'd either get a phone call or a text or, something. It was like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was just a whole week of just surprises that were not pleasant at all.
Can you identify like anything that has gone right or well or
Last week, well, I mean, Darren and I worked fantastic as a team. I mean,
amazing?
we were able to just communicate and make it happen. There was really only one thing that we had to just apologize and reset and just said, and started over with them and said, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. But everything else, we were able to just go and flow and, and then crash and burn
together.
Yes. Yes. So that was good. I mean, I don't know. We've been married for 32 years, but have known each other for about 40. So we have a pretty good flow when we need to. And I was probably not the kindest on some days to him, but, I had reached my points.
Yeah. Well, there's also, I mean, whether we want to bring that into the conversation or not, like women have cycles.
Yeah.
And we have ebbs and flows. And I do think that it is tied to the moon and our bodies and our flow. And even if, we are like in perimenopausal or someone is post menopause, like I still think there are emotional cycles that we go through. Sunday was a tough day in our house too. I'm not going to say I picked a fight with Todd, but I will say I took a conversation bigger or deeper than maybe was necessary, but maybe that was just part of the cycle that I needed to like reactivate and re-engage in something.
Yeah, and I guess I've never really looked at it that way. I just I chalk it up to hormones and just bitchiness. I mean, I just get in that mindset of, you know what? I am just going to go there right now, and it's just going to happen. It's going to happen.
Like I'm going all the way with this, and you can stay in the room and participate, but it's happening in here anyway.
Yeah. exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, with the business, so our employee, he's 20 years old, and it was a horrible situation. He's just been really sick, and he had to be in the hospital, and
Mm,
thought he had to have his colon removed at 20.
mm,
That's just catastrophic. So that was our one full-time employee. And so, we got things going, we're rolling, we're doing stuff, and we have a flow. And then Darren would agree to do more with customers because he couldn't say no. So I know that my face had to just tell 1,000 stories. Just
mm.
when I would hear the phone, I was like, man, are you kidding me? Did you just say yes? What the what?
Right. Right. Like there have to be boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you want to deliver something that's quality.
100%. And he is right. He's dealing with some back issues, and he knows that. And so, like, I don't know. So it was a struggle. We got it done, but he paid dearly
Mhm.
physically for it. And then, and then on top of it, I was like, oh, what did you
Right.
do?
Well, because you want something sustainable and manageable and is scalable.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep. So this week we have 4 people. We're good. Knock on wood.
Good.
Whatever. Pray to the gods that we we are good.
Everybody shows up, follows through, does what they need. The other thing I've noticed about myself, and I don't know if you're this way or your husband is this way, is I have high energy and low energy days. And what happens is I make commitments on high energy days when everything feels super clear in my head and it feels absolutely possible. And then if I'm having a low energy day on a delivery day,
Mm-hmm.
then I can't cash the check I wrote.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. And
Right.
I think we both have a bad habit of when the company phone rings and somebody needs something, we don't stop and actually look at the calendar,
Huh? Right. Yeah.
and we'll just say, oh yeah, we'll get you Tuesday. Well, Tuesday is booked solid,
Right.
and now what? you know so like you said, we're on a high function, we're like, oh, it'll be no problem, we'll have 5 people here, we'll get it done, it'll be no big deal. And one person shows and it's us, and now we're like, great,
Right.
good.
Right.
So
It's this balance when you're a business owner, and I'm a newer business owner of how do I want to operate my business? What do I want the energy within my business to be like? What is
yeah.
my customer service like? My deliverables? Yeah.
Yes,
But you already know the formula. It's just executing it. It sounds like.
it is. And so the pieces are coming into play for the summer anyway, where
Mhm.
we got our college kids decided to take an extra week before they came back, so that kind of threw a monkey in the wrench. And then
Mhm.
Mesa got sick, and so just little things like that. And now we have one other person that's going to start next week when she's out of school, and so we'll have somebody in the office answering the phones. Darren can go and do what he's supposed to do, getting jobs,
Mhm.
taking hands, networking, doing all that. And then we've got a crew. So that is the plan, and it's going to go great, and it's going to go well, and we're going to do good.
Yeah. Knowing fall is coming.
Yes.
So
And
as
that's the kicker right there. When fall comes and everybody goes back to school, and that's when we're like, okay, we got to figure out in between now and then
Mhm.
what's our plan. What's the
Mhm.
plan? Oh,
Yeah, projecting.
yep.
It's tricky.
It is. And I think in the last 16 months we have had close to 45 employees that have
Come
come.
through.
Yes, the revolving door.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You need, what do you need? What do you need? What do you want?
um just people, we want people with a driver's license, a valid driver's license, and for for the most part, we can teach everything else as long as you have a customer service mind frame.
Mm-hmm.
Customer service is the hardest thing to teach, but it's not unteachable. I mean, we can definitely teach that. It's just, you know, it can be a strenuous job. I mean, you're on a ladder, you're carrying ladders, and you're cleaning windows. So it's not your average summer job,
Right.
say you're going to be physical. And during the school year, same thing. It's going to be a physical job. And yeah, I mean, it's, we feel we treat people right, but there's just a lot of people, you try to explain up front what it is, but until you actually do it, you don't really know. And then it's like,
Right.
oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. And would like how many people would be ideal for you to have on your team?
Ideally, we want a two-men crews or two-person crews. So if we have two vehicles going at all times, that's great. When we hit a third vehicle is when when you're typically become profitable at that point.
Okay.
So if we can just keep a consistent two-man, right now that's our goal. Consistent two-man, two-man crews, and then we can go from there to expand to that third. So
It would be interesting for you to start writing that down each morning. We have consistently two-person crews.
okay.
Because our mind, as we wander, because energy flows where focus goes. So as our mind wanders to what we don't have,
Yep.
really the goal is to refocus it back to what do we want?
What we want. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think we'll definitely do that because we've reprogrammed ourselves coming from corporate and just a different mindset and a different skill / education level versus an hourly employee.
Right.
We've kind of trained ourselves every morning. Okay, let's see who shows up. Let's see if we can actually get jobs done today. That's just how we wake up every day. So I think you're right. I think we just need to reset our focus to what we want and what will be the positive actions for the day and go with that.
Right. I mean, it totally translates to the breath work and the meditation and the family caregiver role. Like, how do we want this to go and what are our intentions?
Yeah, definitely.
Writing it down every day is so powerful.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how the universe just rises to the occasion.
That is true. That is 100% true. I think we don't always see it for what it is, or we'll just that wasn't really it. That's not what really happened.
Right. It's the littlest things, like the dishwasher breaks and then there's this random bonus that gets slid into the paycheck, or or we need is a very loose privileged word, but needed a fourth car, and it worked out that we did this whole car shuffle in the family and ended up with one of the grandparents' cars. Like, it just really energy flows where our focus goes. So I don't know, that would just be interesting to see, writing that down every day.
Okay, I'm gonna start it.
What shows up for that?
Yeah, for sure.
So I was going through our weeks, and I think this week we're on our observation of breath and meditation week.
Okay.
And how, like, are you familiar with breath work or meditation?
I'll be honest, no. I've not really ever relied on it or really even addressed the concept per se.
Perfect. So this is just like a super high level 101 on the benefits of both of those things. They're two separate things. They can be integrated together. But really, there are an abundance of resources out there and available. And I'll give some of them also today just to check out. But just the goal is to talk about the benefits of it. Because I think we understand generally that they're good for us.
Sure.
There are significant, real, evidence-based, scientific benefits to both of these things. Like life-changing, go off certain meds.
Okay. All right.
Benefits. So I was just going through on, we'll start with breath work. And when I looked up how many breaths do we take a day, for whatever reason, the Canadian Lung Association came up and said, and they reported 22,000 times a day we're breathing in and out.
I can see that. Yeah.
But everything, obviously our entire body, everything is powered by our breathing. Oxygen is a life-sustaining gas. It's so funny. My grandmother, who had COPD, I went into her house one day and she wasn't on her oxygen. She had the concentrator humming in the corner and she's not wearing the tube. And she's like puttering around her house. And I was like, Grandma, why aren't you wearing your oxygen? And she goes, I don't want to get addicted to it. And I was like, Grandma, we're all addicted to it.
It's a necessity for everyone.
It's like we're all addicted to oxygen. And I understood she didn't want to be tethered to the machine. I mean, that she had such a huge cord. I thought certainly she's going to trip on it. But yes, oxygen is so important. And it passes through our bloodstream, carried to all of our tissues, all of our organs, and it allows us to walk, talk, and move. So shallow breathing, when we're just breathing shallowly, which is more often times than not, it can actually bring on anxiety attacks and panic attacks. It can cause dry mouth, fatigue, aggravate respiratory problems. It's a precursor for cardiovascular issues. And when we're just breathing shallow and in and out through our nose, it actually can impact cognition, which is amazing. And that pattern of breathing also causes tension in other parts of the body, in your shoulders, in your neck, and it just leads to all kinds of other skeletal issues. And it sets off the sympathetic nervous system, which is a branch of the autonomic nervous system, which primes us for that activity, which is fight or flight. Gotcha. So we spend a lot of time in that nervous system when we're breathing in a shallow manner. And it's just so unhealthy for us because it can impact all of these other things. And we're just too often in this state because we're so often triggered. And so hopefully that was part of the goal between doing the thought work week and the values week, is hopefully we're not as triggered as often. So that we're not in that space. One of the things I read is like, well, why do we breathe so shallow? And one of the articles I read said it's because we're vain. Because to have a true full breath, you have to breathe like a baby and you pooch your tummy out.
I can.
Yeah, so like we want to keep our abs in, and which actually forces us to hold our breath. So that was that article's theory. And it doesn't create just a stress response. It makes a habit, which creates stress in our body. So the goal of breath work is to really get that parasympathetic nervous system activated, which is what calms us down. And it's part of a network of nerves that relaxes your body after the stress or danger. So if your body does have to go into that fight or flight because you are in danger or something is activated in you,
Yeah.
you want to engage that parasympathetic nervous system, because it's happening all the time, like when you're sleeping, your parasympathetic nervous system, it's like happening all the time, and it's a huge part of your body's long-term survival. So it's happening all the time, whether you're thinking about it or not. And your body needs both of these. You just don't want to be too long in one space and not the other. So they talk about the parasympathetic nervous system. It allows your body to rest and digest. So it's part of like how you digest your food is activated by that. And then feed and breed, which, breeding, we're past that, but
Thank you, Jesus.
thank you, Jesus. So it's just really important to have awareness of it, and just generally it goes back to like wake up, pay attention, and make choices throughout your day. How are you breathing? So if you put your hand like on your chest and a hand on your tummy, when you take a breath in through your nose, you want your tummy to rise up, like, and puff out.
Okay.
And then when you breathe out,
Go down.
it should collapse. So just being aware as much as possible about whether or not your stomach, because that lower lung is what needs to get filled to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. So there are a ton of videos on YouTube. I have a breathwork coach, and her name is Kimberly Faith, and she's amazing. But the first step with that breathing is to find a quiet, comfortable place, take a normal breath, and then to take that deep breath, just putting your hand on your stomach and having awareness if your stomach is pushing out as you're taking that breath, allowing your chest and lower belly to rise as you fill your lungs, and then let your abdomen expand fully. And then to breathe out slowly through your mouth or your nose, if that feels more natural. So I think we did an exercise of box breathing. And so we'll do that now as well, where we're just going to inhale for 4, hold it for 4, exhale for 4, and hold it for 4. So we'll go ahead and take a deep breath in, and just put your stomach on, or your hand on your stomach, to see if you're breathing all the way through. So let's inhale, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Can you feel your abdomen like expanding?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
I just posted, this is meditation, but I just posted on Facebook this guy who did a little 10-minute meditation.
Okay.
And his voice is just so soothing and calm. And so with breath work, with meditation, it doesn't have to be like some huge, long, big practice. I've even considered keeping a note in my car for parking lots.
Yeah.
It just says, I'm okay, I'm meditating. Because I have sometimes, like, between calls or something, I'm just like, I'm so tired. I don't want caffeine. I just need to close my eyes for a minute, like to go to a park or whatever. I mean, obviously with summer coming, it's a little more complicated, but yeah. So I find a lot of times in the afternoon is when I just need that wind down time. Do you have a time of day that for you feels like you would benefit more from it?
Yeah, I think it's like it's probably about an hour or so after lunch or so, because I don't know, because you're on the downhill slide of the day per se.
Yes.
However, you still see everything that needs to be done or know what the rest of the day holds, and then you're just like, oh, scramble, 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 or I have to sprint now instead
Right.
of just slow down, focus, do it right, because that's when I make more mistakes per se,
Yeah.
in the afternoon like that.
That's so good. Do you feel like it is feasible to just as you, I don't know where you're moving through your day, if you're at the shop, if you're at home, if you're out running around?
All of the above. It just depends on what day it
Yeah.
is and what is happening. So ideally, I try to either start my day at my home office where I'm at now or at the office, the Shine office.
Mhm.
And sometimes, like this week, mom is here at our house with us all week. So I'll be at the house and I just kind of get up there and check on her and give her something else to sort or,
Mhm.
something to do. But if we're in the shop, yeah, it's anybody's guess.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, even just zoning out, I think, is a form of meditation where you are driving someplace and you don't even really remember how you got there.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I haven't done that a lot, but I guess what I'll do is I will look at Facebook, or you'll start peeping on other people's lives to like let yours go for a minute or something
Mhm.
like that. I will do that. Um, I don't do that very often. Darren Darren likes to get on to TikTok a lot and just zone out of whatever the current situation is and just kind of look at TikTok and watch that, and then he'll come back. But it's just that's not my thing. But yeah, sometimes it's just I'll close my eyes at my desk or I'll lay my head on my desk sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just let me not think for a minute and
Yeah.
just it's hard to do, but
And I think social media can be a great tool for just zonking out, zoning out. And what I've noticed is it is a roller coaster of emotion. Because if, and I don't know about TikTok, because that's probably pretty curated algorithm content. Like if he's looking at specific things, and that's what's going to be fed. But on Facebook, it could be my dog died,
yes.
my daughter graduated, my grandma just died. I got a new job. I'm on a dream vacation. And so that instead of zoning out, what I'm finding is that I'm annoyed, pissed, happy, delight. Like I'm just riding this other roller coaster.
That is true. That does happen as well, yes.
Yeah. So just all of this is just designed to bring awareness. So like you're making the decisions of what's working for you and not. With meditation specifically, there are so many health benefits, including stress reduction, improved sleep, decreased anxiety, decreased depression, physical, psychological pain reduction, improved memory, increased efficiency at work, reduced blood pressure and heart rate. So, and it can also teach you discipline, just something that's for yourself that allows you discipline. The week we had on happiness and lightening up, happiness and gratitude. I talked about that study that the MS Society did,
Yeah.
where a mindfulness practice allowed people to reduce their pain meds by half. So a little meditation practice, but consistently is where you're going to get those benefits, that value. And it's learning a skill just like any other skill. I did just post also on Facebook a picture. It's like a video and it's got a cat closing its eyes, and then around it is like 1,000 little baby chicks chirping.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah. So, meditating, it is a skill that just takes some practice. And I love that you have a meditation, it's called a meditation practice, not a meditation perfection.
Okay.
The goal is just to practice it. And of course, prayer is also a form of meditation as well. But
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of that lately, that's for sure.
yeah. And what we do is we tend to ask, but then not listen.
Yes, I'm very guilty of that.
So get me through, help me figure this out, but then we continue to busy ourselves. And it's in those quiet spaces where the listening happens.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast of a pastor somewhere, and he said, when the same events or types of things continue to happen, it's God telling you that you haven't learned what he needs you to know.
Mm,
So, we have this reoccurring employee issue is the first thing that I went to when he said that, when I heard that. And I was like, okay, God, all right, I'm going to try to listen better. I'm going to try to focus on what it is that we need to learn from this to move past it. So it just
yeah,
really resonated with me.
that very much lands with me too. It's like, what's the observable pattern
Yeah.
or message? Oprah said it so beautifully years ago, or maybe it was Maya Angelou who first said it, but believe people when they show you who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
So we can want the best for them or more out of someone, but that's not always going to work. But so that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely resonated. It's like, okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, the benefits of meditation, I mean, I think about how even just like when you wake up in the morning, I mean, it still takes 5 minutes to go downstairs and take a pill, get a
Yeah.
cup of water and take a pill. If that time was just spent sitting and
Yeah.
focused, um, there's just so much value there. So the goal is not to judge any thoughts as they come and go. It's to just be an observer of your thought, which that's again back up to that mindfulness space of detaching a little bit from being so focused on yourself.
Yeah.
Just to observe the thoughts as they come and go, because your mind is going to wander, and just gently bring it back is the goal of meditation. I think scolding ourselves is something that people do.
Yeah. I do that a lot.
Yeah. And there's so much power in the words that we're using with ourselves. So much power. So just being aware of that. So we did our breathing exercises, and hopefully the value of meditation and just observing your breath um, feels like that you can see some obvious benefits to it.
Yeah, I think we definitely can. And when I say we, I think Darren and I together need to focus on that a lot. So I'm gonna bring it up and tell him that's something I'm gonna try, and I like for him to try with me. And like you said, even if it's just the first 15 minutes of the day or the first 10 or 5 or whatever we can fit in, just starting the day off in a better mindset, and then
Mm-hmm.
writing what we want to manifest to happen and the
Mm-hmm.
things. I think if we start that off, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Do you want to talk about anything specific from what imploded in the last week and get coaching on it?
Yeah. So one of the many events that while mom was at her sister's house last week, my aunt and uncle are older than my mom, but they don't have excuse me, they don't have the cognitive issues. They have, my uncle has a ankle and a hip issue, and my aunt has had a knee and a hip replacement. So physically, they have canes and they don't. So my mom physically is able to do more,
Mm-hmm.
cognitively not. So she's the not the runner, but she's the person that will go and grab the phone and bring it to them, or get the newspaper, or help them
Right.
socialize when they stand up. So my mom likes to exercise by walking. She likes to walk and just feel like she's getting movement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they live in Hooper. Hooper is very small.
Mm-hmm.
They have a little town square. And so she will typically just go outside and walk the square. She takes her phone with her and it's all good. And my aunt times her and watches. Well, last week she had a dentist appointment and she said, well, I would like to walk to the dentist. And they were like, it's a lot farther than you think. I don't think you want to do it. She says, well, the dentist is tomorrow. I want to try today. So my aunt made her take her phone, and it's probably a half a mile to there and back, so a full mile. But it's not a route that she's taken
Mm-hmm.
or familiar with. And so she got to a certain point, it was a little warmer. She wasn't really dressed. She was dressed too warm
Mm-hmm.
outside, and she stumbled and fell, and people saw her, people that know my aunt and uncle, and they picked her up and they took her back to my aunt and uncle's house. So it was fine. She's got a few bruises. She was very, very embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure how to broach the subject with my aunt and uncle, that she really can't make decisions any longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she can decide whether she wants to eat the peas on her plate or not.
Right.
But things like that, because my aunt is, well, I don't want to take away her independence. It's like, yeah, that independence you have to take away from her, because she doesn't relatively think properly anymore.
Right.
With distances. So I'm not sure if talking and literature for them, or just start with talking first with them about the extent of, because my mom has aphasia, dementia, and so my mom cannot read. She doesn't write anything anymore because she doesn't know. And just this week, having her here, most of the time she's just, a lot of gibber will come out before any words will actually come out of her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's just certain things that I'm not sure how to communicate it effectively to my aunt and uncle, that, yeah, I understand what you're trying to do, but that's not going to be safe for her probably to let her make decisions.
Right. So a few things are coming to mind, and I would love for Mary also to weigh in on this.
Okay.
Just because even though she is the primary person and the decision maker, I'm sure that she has been in position where she's had to explain to other people kind of where things are at. So I think what I'm hearing you say is you feel like your mom is just to the point where we've reached kind of a different phase of her dementia.
Yeah.
And where before she could have made a decision like that, but now we're just entering some new territory.
Yes.
Where her ability to make those decisions, while she may be able to communicate something in that moment clearly, her brain actually is unable to make that decision for herself, understanding the consequences.
Right.
So I think that's like an introduction to how you're bringing it up with them. One of the things, I'm reading the 36-hour day, which is a book about caring for someone with dementia. And I loved this analogy of a light bulb. Like sometimes people are having these moments of clarity and it's like the light bulb is all the way screwed in, but then they're having maybe the next day or the next hour, it feels like the light bulb has loosened.
Yep, that makes total sense. Yeah.
And then maybe it's flickering. So we have to remember that what's happening in her brain, like even in that moment, if it feels like the light bulb is fully screwed in, the moment she walks out the door, it might loosen.
Yeah. or she turns her head left to right. I mean, it just doesn't take anything at all.
It doesn't take anything at all. And their capacity to understand, like, I think you're in a phase maybe where I'm sensing that you're gauging if the system is going to continue to work to have your mom going over there. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah, it's fair. I think they really enjoy having her there. One, because it helps them, and two, they feel that they are able to help, you know. And
everybody's helping everybody over there in that scenario.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
However,
I'm thinking, yeah, you're concerned about some bigger picture safety issues and longevity. So the other thing with other family members is just getting on the same page about what your baseline is that you all agree on. Like, okay, so we all agree that safety is our priority. And if we can get to that as a family, then a scenario like that, it would be easier to see through that lens. You know what? This could be a safety issue.
okay. Yeah, I like it.
So that can help us. And again, it's not stripping away independence from someone who's cognitively intact. Like if I went up to you, Rachel, and said, you can't drive anymore.
Right.
Like, and that is part of the problem on the front end with dementia, right? Because people feel like they're fine.
Mm-hmm. In their mind, they are good. Yeah.
Right. However, we have enough evidence at this point. There's a diagnosis at this point. There's a progression of the disease at this point that we have a new baseline is other language I would use for some safety requirements.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest, I don't know if biggest, but one of the things, so Joyce and Bernie leave things out for their convenience and ease, which I understand. It's your house, that's what you do. However, if it's in a bottle that looks like face lotion, but it is plant food, it's gonna be used as face lotion, because look, in her mind, oh, that looks like face lotion. And so we have come into one of those scenarios as well, where whatever it was, she put it all over her face and she got a nice little chemical peel off of that. So, nobody has any idea what it was, or, so I don't know what to put away and what to put out. And I don't want to tell them, you can't, you have to treat her like a child, because you do, but you don't.
Right. So do you feel like you have a way in to have a conversation with them?
I do. I think it will, I think I can do it. And Darren's much better at it than I am. I'm a direct person. Darren's a storyteller, if you will. You imagine if, this.
You put plant food all over your face. Think, oh wait, that actually happened.
Exactly.
Right.
So, he has a better way than I do. So I think between the two of us, I have no problem bringing it up. And I don't even have a problem if my uncle will be fine. My aunt, she might not take offense to it, but it may take her longer to be on board than my uncle would. So we'll see.
And I think that goes back to our baseline as a family of agreement that we know that this disease is going to progress.
Yeah.
So let's get some clarity around how do we know when it's time to do something different? Because it's already starting to feel like we're moving in that direction. So how as a family, and it would be beautiful if we can all be on the same page about it. But maybe you have some clear ideas for yourself, you and your husband. And those boxes may already be being checked.
Yeah. I would love to have her here. I just feel like she gets bored here because we're working or, doing stuff like that. I'm in the basement, she's upstairs.
Mhm.
Not that I can't take my office upstairs, because I can totally do that, but it's still, I don't know, is she sitting watching television all day versus, something else? So yeah.
So that opens up the second piece of this, which is what is going to work for you going forward if it is determined that their house is not an option anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how is that going to play out, and that a little bit leads into the optional resources that we talked about last week, just as this is going to continue to progress and unfold.
Yeah.
So what's our next step?
Yeah, I know. I need to figure that out. I mean, she literally has no money,
Mhm.
and she is on she's on Social Security,
Mhm.
and has a small pension from being a teacher, but she's not on, she's on Medicaid, but not Medicare, or
Mhm.
whatever that is.
So she has Medicare, which is health insurance.
Does that? Yeah.
Yeah, and Medicaid is if your net assets are $2,000 or less, or your
Yep.
income.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, she gets her Social Security check, which is basically 1,200, and then
Mhm.
she gets a little bit of a her pension,
Mhm.
which it probably puts her over. I mean, she probably makes about 22 a month with her pension, because I think she gets right close to just under $1,000 in pension each month, plus Social Security.
Yeah.
And I haven't really looked at Nebraska laws or whatever in regards to any of that yet.
So it would be a good idea to start exploring what options do we have for someone who's living with dementia,
Yeah.
or in-home, or day services,
Okay.
or potential long-term placement. Like what are those options? The Eastern Nebraska Office on Aging
Okay.
is a great resource. They have a ton of programs that they either manage or are aware of.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
that something where I should go in and talk to somebody, or is it mostly online and I can get a good feel for what they have online?
I
Do you
think
think?
you can get a good feel for what they have online. I think there's a phone number you can actually call.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's actual people in an office.
Yeah, we bid the office to clean it, to do
Oh
their
my
window.
gosh, yeah,
We just
yeah,
happened, at that point, mom was still in her own apartment and all that. So,
right. So it's just a good idea to start exploring these different things, as because I mean that's the thing about dementia, is we always know there's another phase coming,
yeah. Yeah.
and you want to feel prepared as best you can
Yes,
for that.
definitely. Definitely.
Um, how do you feel like your aunt's cognition is?
Um, she's good. She's about, what, 3 years older. So she's 88, I think. My mom's 85.
Mhm.
Um, and so, I mean, there's definitely days where she doesn't recall, oh, who is it? What's our neighbor's name? It's not specific thing. Like, she can still get up and she can cook, and she knows that you brown the hamburger and put the spaghetti sauce in and you boil the water for the noodles. Mom
Right,
doesn't have any recognition of any of that.
right.
Um, my uncle is sharp as a tack. He is
Mm.
91 years old and sharp as a tack.
He's running all these ladies.
He
He's the
is.
database.
Between the two of them, they'll say, "Now, Bernie, what was that?" And he'll go, "That is this, 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 and this," and he'll know what Rachel said was this, not that.
Mhm.
He's on it. So, I'm confident in their cognitive. I feel sometimes that my aunt is just thinking she needs to let mom make her own decisions. And it's like, yeah, that's not an option most of the time.
Right. So, and maybe referring, having the aunt refer back to when your mom stopped driving,
Yeah.
like as a, and I don't know, did your mom electively stop driving or did?
She did because of it. It was crazy because we were talking to her about it and we were telling her, because we started seeing sticky notes in the car.
Mhm.
You're going to Baker's. And it's like, oh, so you're forgetting where you're headed. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we are having those conversations and we were about to, and she was actually leaving my aunt's house and driving back to Fremont. And she was at a stop sign and the car came and turned the corner and turned it too tight and hit her.
Oh,
Well, she of course jumped out and was like, I'm sorry, I hit you. She just, but the way that the cars hit, it wasn't right. And I was like, I don't think this is your fault. And so there was actually a camera and the police officer pulled it up and he's like, yeah, no, her foot was on the brake the whole time. She never moved. But that was enough for her to say, I don't want to drive anymore.
right,
So I was like, yes.
right.
So yeah, and she never drove after that.
Well, so that's not the best example to use with the aunt.
No.
Although you could say, that was earlier on in her disease process. And I don't think she has the capacity to make a decision like that at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. That'd be a good parallel though to talk about that.
Right.
And yeah, the other day when she fell and I think she had a sweater on and she was outside in it was like 75 or 80 degrees and she was walking. I was like, yeah.
That is very, very, very common,
Yep.
by the way. Yeah. That is people being inappropriately dressed for the weather that
Yep.
are living with dementia. Yeah. And also your aunt didn't say take your sweater off.
Right. And those are the kinds of things where I want to, maybe bring that up, So for example, the other day, not that you have to tell her how to dress, but if you saw that she was going to go outside and she's overly dressed, those are things that we do have to address
Right.
before we let her go out. We can't let her go out in a parka in the summer. We have to, because she's going to overheat very quickly. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you feel like you have some tools to head into the conversation?
I do. I definitely do. And I'm going to do the writing every morning and just take those minutes and hopefully gradually add minutes in the beginning of the day, end of the day, and just kind of decompress and start the day good.
Yeah.
So,
it sets the tone for your day.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
At whatever, my 85 years old, my mom still makes her bed really like very good too. And she's like, oh, I haven't made my bed. The day hasn't started yet. She'll tell you that every time. Well, the day hasn't started. My bed's not made. I'm going to go make it. So,
I love it. Something for us to learn.
Yep, 100%.
I love it. Next week, are you available Thursday?
I should be. Yes. What date?
Let me just double check here.
Where's my calendar?
Thursday at 1:00.
Yeah, that'll work.
Great, because we are heading camping.
Nice.
So I will email Mary Thursday, June 1st at 1:00.
Perfect. Yes, that works.
Great. Well, I'm available to you. So if you need to text me
Okay.
and be like, I need a reset or a new perspective or
Yeah.
something else as part of this conversation, you are absolutely welcome to do so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
absolutely. And I will see you next week.
Okay.
All right. Have a good week.
You too. Bye.
Bye.